Become a patron at www.patreon.com/Golden Era Bookworm for hard to find books, scans of rare photos, and articles on the golden era of bodybuilding. Hi everybody, Golden Era Bookworm here, and today I'm going to go through July 1951, the issue for Your Physique, with John Smith on the cover, a relatively unknown bodybuilder from the Silver Era. He was from Washington, D.C. This photo was taken by Russ Warner. Very aesthetic physique, like most of the aesthetic and very athletic physiques from the 1950s. At this point, as you can see, these wonderful color photos are now being produced for bodybuilding. It's just really nice to see now that all of these covers have these beautiful cover images of these bodybuilders. John Smith was actually regularly featured in the 1950s, and we'll start covering this relatively unknown and forgotten bodybuilder from the past. Now, the very first article that I found interesting, and I already kind of covered in a video, was regarding, I've already marked it, of course, John Grimek's favorite bodybuilding system, which was the set system. The set system was something fairly novel back in the 1950s, and it's something that we basically practice in the gyms these days every single time we go and train. Essentially, the idea back then, prior to the set system, was that you would only train one set per body or for each exercise. You would only do one set of them, and this may only mean, for example, for the chest, for example, just doing a set of bench presses, or for the arms, doing a set of barbell curls, with the attempt of always trying to reach, 10 to 12 repetitions, and then once you reach that, you would increase the weight. The set system implies that you must perform 3, 4, or 5 sets of the same exercise. And John Grimek, of course, was one of the very first to implement the set system, which is why he was able to produce such a large and massive physique. Because if you compare the physiques from the 1930s and 1940s, a lot of them are strong. So these guys were gymnasts. They were able to hand balance and do a lot of strongman techniques, but they didn't have that large, massive, muscular belly that we see in the physiques of, for example, we see in the physiques of Jack Dellinger, of Reg Park, and of course of John Grimek. So, of course, John Grimek's favorite system was the set system, which he used, and of course the exercises which he used to prepare for the Mr. America, which I covered in a separate video linked to the description of this video and above. Things like the swing bell curl, which I talked about, the incline dumbbell press, and the seated on the floor lat pull down. So yeah, there's pretty interesting article, very rare article for Your Physique, because they didn't tend to cover John Grimek too much. That was more in the strength and health mags, which I plan to start covering very, very soon. Again, it talks more about John Grimek and part of the York gang, that although they were Olympic weightlifters, they did practice the set system. Right, that's what the main message from that particular article was. Here's an interesting article written by Clarence Ross, of course, Mr. America of 1945, who just kept getting bigger and bigger. Looking super thick and bulky there. What I love about this article is that it shows a photo of the very young, famous photographer Russ Warner, and a lot of people don't remember Russ or even realize that Russ Warner was the one that took many of these photos of Steve Reeves, of Reg Park, of Clarence Ross, of all the legends back then. He's not really credited, so thank you, Russ. I know a lot of people don't talk about that, but a lot of the photos that we see on Instagram and on YouTube and all that, there's men that actually took these photos, and they are icons in the history of bodybuilding photography. Russ Warner is one of them, thanks to him. This was a very interesting and technical article on the platform lifting cross, which there's two different types. There's the Russian cross and the Murray cross. It's really good for people that are into Olympic weightlifting. Now, because this is mainly a bodybuilding channel, and I do talk about weightlifting, the achievements of men like John Grimek and Reg Park, Marvin Eder as well in weightlifting. I do talk about that, and I occasionally talk about some programs. I don't go into the exact technicalities of the techniques of, for example, the clean and press or the snatch, of which this article was fantastic for, because it uses this fantastic platform lifting cross to teach you how to perfect your footing. In that respect, I'm into Olympic weightlifting and practice it every now and then, so I found this very, very useful for myself. Yeah, let me know if you are interested in me covering such an article, because I don't really talk much about weightlifting on this channel, even though I love it as a sport. It's brilliant. Of course, here's a wonderful photo of one of the greatest of all time, John Davis, king of the heavyweight, performing, God knows, I don't know, that must be well over 300 pounds, maybe 350, 380, going overhead in the clean and press. Now, here is a nice article from Armand Tanny. Armand Tanny talks about supersets for supersize and gives a typical super set routine from the silver era on page 37, which I will briefly highlight for you. I can just get it on screen. Oh, it's going to be too hard. But anyway, if I can just enhance this slightly, you'll see that at the bottom, it talks about supersetting the bicep curl with the tricep curl, the press, that's this 2-arm barbell press with a 2-arm chin, and then, for example, push-ups at the top here now with the bent over row, abdominal raises with deadlifts, and squats or the deep knee bend with leg curls. So you've got a nice little silver era superset program there, because to be honest, most people associate the superset system with the golden era. But of course, the golden era legends such as Arnold and Franco, etc., they all learned from men like Armand Tanny, from men like Steve Reeves, Reg Park. They were their teachers. And so, you know, like it or not, most of these systems that were used in the golden era were basically taught by silver era greats. I mean, they developed phenomenal physiques naturally back then, so why not? Right, now there were some 2 triceps specialization articles in this particular issue. The first one from Stephan, I haven't covered because, to be honest, it's nothing new. It talks about, for example, the tried and tested standing triceps extension. It talks about dumbbell kickbacks, diamond push-ups, and rope extensions, in that case done with a human, but of course now we can use a cable station. I didn't find this particular article anything new, to be honest, and that's why I haven't covered it. I believe, though, that Stephan is one of the greatest silver era bodybuilders of that time, and of course back then this would have been a wonderful article to read and a wonderful tricep specialization course to try. But seeing that these are very common exercises performed nowadays, I haven't done so. Now this particular article written by Abe Goldberg. Now Abe Goldberg, I love Abe Goldberg, wonderful bodybuilder from the past, great friend of Marvin Eder, who I've been interviewing recently. Marvin actually used to train at Abe Goldberg's gym, and I believe Abe would have taught him actually quite a lot, because then Marvin, believe it or not, was a trainer at Abe Goldberg's gym. He actually told me that the other day, so I've got a lot to ask him about Abe Goldberg, especially how he developed his chest. And he did tell me that he was able to do some crazy breathing squat workouts, which I've talked about so many times. Abe Goldberg had the most amazing rib cage ever, and Marvin again said that. He says he's never seen a man with such a large rib cage in his life. And of course, I mean, he specialized in it, and I've talked about his routine in a video. I've done a video on Abe Goldberg's incredible rib cage routine recently. It's linked above. And he talks about all these unusual angles that he did, his pullovers and flies in, all with an emphasis on deep breathing to develop his incredible rib cage. I mean, the man had, yeah, by far what I think is the greatest rib cage development that I've ever seen in bodybuilding. Here's a great article, again written by now Reg Park, on irregular training. He talks about the phenomenal Steve Reeves and how, for example, in the space of 2 months or in a month or whatever it was able to get in shape for the Mr. Universe competition. He talks about other crazy routines such as that of Floyd Page and others. Basically, he because he's returning back to Britain at this stage, he would have seen all styles of training done in America, because he obviously went to the States to learn from all the greats, and he did, and then he applied what he learned later on to develop his own system in Britain. And yeah, he was basically talking about all the irregular methods, that's why it's called irregular training routines, performed by many of the champs, especially when it comes to specialization. Really great. So as I said, he talks about Reeves, Floyd Page, and others. It's a really interesting article, very interesting. It talks about basically some of the secrets of some of these silver era champs. Really cool stuff. Now, this particular triceps routine I did talk about, it was one from the great Charles A. Smith, and he talks about some very unusual exercises that were performed back in the day during the silver era. And yeah, I mean, here are some of them. We've got the particular exercise that was used by, what is it called, by Steve Reeves, of course, and that was this lying down cross chest dumbbell extension. You've got the lying face down dumbbell kickback, the box dip, the reverse lying French press or lying extension. You've got this power rack lockout, and of course, finally, you've also got this very unusual side lying cable machine lying triceps extension. Really interesting, never before seen, at least. I mean, the only one pretty much is the box dip, but again, I haven't seen many of these exercises. I've done a video on this. It's great stuff. And of course, this is how silver era legends such as Bill Pearl and others would have developed their amazing triceps. I mean, he's another great bodybuilder. So many great bodybuilders back then who really were pioneers in developing all these amazing techniques that either have been lost or are still used nowadays. Let's see what else we've got. I think that's it, to be honest. Yeah, that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at Your Physique 1951 July issue with John Smith on the cover. If you have, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and share the video if you liked it. Leave me your comments, and if you want to support the channel, you can do so via several ways. Donate via PayPal, visit my website for print books and courses, become a patron, and there's also a campaign I've got on a website called ibelieveinyou.ch. It's a campaign to try and create a museum exhibition on silver era bodybuilding. If you're interested, the details are given below. It's a real passion of mine, as you know, bodybuilding and the history of it. And I do have the opportunity of now, there are many museums that are interested. I just need to acquire some money to be able to finish off the exhibition, and then I'll be able to put it up. It would be something very historic. So if you do feel like donating, please do so. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. This is the Golden Era Bookworm saying bye for now and have a great weekend. Bye. Oh, and happy Halloween. To take full advantage of my collaboration with Old School Labs, please visit their website and choose from their marvelous range of supplements using my code BOOKWORM12. And for an entertaining look at the history of bodybuilding's supplement industry, I would highly recommend watching Subs the Movie, which I have collaborated in, available at Amazon Prime and Vimeo.